She just said we are here because of
I can say
joy.
I can
Summarizing
joy, right?
it.
No, because when this was started conceptually, one of our family members came to us. She was like all about it. And then the question she kept using as her example was, well, talk about what brings you joy, something simple, da da da. Da. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, that is the least simple thing that we could want to talk about.
Yeah.
But I decided to lean in, and here we are.
It also coincides with the alumni group meetings that we do monthly. We do twice a month,
Once
once
a
a month.
month. Yeah.
And essentially folks who have attended the weekend intensive are part of the People Before King Power Exchange Academy alumni. And we get together once a month to answer these introspective questions in group settings. Um,
So much more interesting than like, how are you? What are you up to? Right? It's more focused and directed.
yeah, and the idea would be to share these answers to see what we have in common with others around us and to support those who are experiencing something different.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to bring it to the community level like this, where there are folks who are seeking this type of connection and community just based off of what are the people I'm connecting with spend their time thinking about. Right. And it's like, I like to spend my time thinking about introspective, sometimes existential things, preferably existential. I really enjoy swimming in that existential crisis.
Yes, you do.
um, Tonight we also have Natalie behind the DJ booth. She's behind the camera. She will be fielding any questions that you guys may have. Um, Feel free to drop them in the comments and she'll read them off to us.
Or you can turn on your microphones and turn on your cameras and join us if you'd like.
If you'd like, absolutely.
So I put together some questions because the truth is this is a tough subject for me. So these are questions in no particular order that we can talk about. Hopefully you'll join us in the conversation.
Let's see. Hold on one second. Chris on knows us. I don't know if D knows us. So why don't we do a little introduction on who we are and how we got here?
Sure. Should we go first?
Yes, you go. Well, we go first.
Okay.
They don't have. They don't have to. It's just ours.
So my name's Kat, and I got here on a long, slow boat that got me to here. D doesn't know. I know that. And so I don't know. I feel like I just landed here on this seat 5 minutes ago. Like my, introduction to planet Earth. Here I am. Bam! I just got here. Not really. Well, so I'm really confounded right now on how to answer that question. Don't ask me why.
So we are the co-founders of the Sanctuary of East Harlem. Take it away.
Okay. Thanks for orienting me in time and space. Yes, we are the co-founders of the Sanctuary of East Harlem. We've been open since September 15th. We're super excited. We have so much going on and so much that we're getting ready to bring everyone. And
how did you get here?
How did I get here? How did I get here to the sanctuary? Well, I have been on this journey for a while.
What's this journey? What are you talking
about? My life journey, my kink journey, my.
What is it that you do now?
Well, right now I'm running this ship. That's what I do right now. But up until now, I was also the co-founder of the Kink Collective, which we started about 4 or 5 years ago, and that's what was the boat that got us started. And then what we do now is work with people to bring them further along, hopefully on their journey too, on their spiritual journey.
I got here through helping people resolve their relationship with sexual identity. I've been doing that for over a dozen years. Before that, I was in government work and all that stuff. But ultimately, I found purpose in helping people heal. Being able to create this dedicated space in East Harlem, we're able to have a space where people can go to find community in a brick and mortar place. While New York City isn't accessible to the world, that's why we're here doing it online as well, so that folks can find community that isn't readily accessible locally, but internally and on a community level, we can make it accessible thanks to Zoom and COVID-19. It really put it on the map. So That's how I got here. And the idea behind this is, again, to build community, because there's a lot of people out there that are searching for answers about things that they haven't even started to put words onto. And like this question, what brings you joy, is a paramount question, because you have a hard time answering that, as you said, right? And you've been around the block, as you said, for some time now. So what's the difficulties with that question?
Well, I think that part of my problem is, as I was going through some of the questions that I set out for us to think about today and maybe answer with each other today, some of my background didn't lend itself to that. I had, we all have stories. We all have childhood. As someone I know is often want to say, no one survives childhood. But this particular subject was always a challenge for me. And so what I want to do, rather than lean into why it's a problem, what I want to do is lean into what we can talk about, what we can say about it, right? So for to get started, what I would love to talk about is what makes you laugh, or what puts a smile on your face. And as I was thinking about that, like little things are the things that bring me joy or make me laugh. uh Uncomfortable things sometimes, somebody making a mistake, saying something, uh I don't, I want to be like, farting or burping or silly kid things, right? That like I still go, like I shouldn't, I don't think, but I do. It like they make me laugh. They put a smile on my face. Like human people, when people are like doing human things.
Was that a comment that popped up, Natalie?
Yes.
Read it into the mic.
Chris said, witty memes on the internet make me laugh.
Witty names?
Memes.
Witty memes.
Memes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very cool. Very cool. Um,
And Dee also agrees. She says that I laugh all the time too when people do human things. ... LOL.
Well, good. I'm glad I'm not alone. Which is part of the reason why we do these conversations, is that we can connect with one another and discover that we're not alone.
yeah, sometimes I laugh at people falling over too.
So another question that I was thinking about as we were getting ready to do this are happy memories. What are some of my happiest memories? My happiest memories are, again, little. Like I could remember, as I was getting ready to talk about this subject today, when I was young, I took on baking. My mom had been a baker, and so I started to bake. And one day I was in the kitchen, and I don't know how I got to this, but I remember I was making zucchini bread, and I was making one other thing at the same time. And I was like 12, maybe tops, right? And I remember feeling like so cool, like as if I were Julia Child and there were a camera looking at me in the kitchen, and I was doing both of these things at the same time. And I think one of the things, now that I'm saying it, one of the things that brings me joy is when I can do something that I'm good at, that it feels good to do because I'm good at doing it. And that brings me joy. And food, especially, because then people eat it and they like it. Well, I hope they like it, but that brings me joy too. I have a lot of joy around food. That's no lie. What about you? What are some of your happiest memories?
um, I'd have to think about that. I'd have to think about that.
Yeah.
Was there another comment that came in?
Yes. Dee said, helping others brings joy.
I can't hear you.
Helping others brings joy.
Speak to me too, not just the mic.
Oh, sorry. Dee says, helping others brings joy.
Helping others. Yeah, that's that's one. I think when it comes to happiest memories, Dee mentioning helping others brings joy. There's when I get to help those that are in need, brings me joy.
Yeah. I think I've always felt that way. I think I've always felt sick, because a lot of times helping others, I think joy is related to purpose, right? Like when I'm doing things that are closest to what I consider to be my purpose, I feel a greater sense of ease. I feel a greater sense of joy or happiness. Less, there's like a flow. I think doing things closer to my purpose puts me in more of what people call a flow state. And it's almost like the river, like you get in the river and go with the river, right? And like you're flowing and it's easier than when I have in many times in my life gotten in the river and insisted I should have to go the other way. And I'm swimming upstream the whole time, and how hard that is. That doesn't feel happy or joyful. So I do think that because I think Dee, like you were just saying, I too feel like helping people is something not only that brings me joy, that is close to my purpose. And that's looked different ways over the years, like depending on in what ways that I've done that. I've helped people as a kid. I helped people in school. I was really good at school. I used to like nothing better than to get study groups together. It was one of my favorite things to do in college, was to get a bunch of people together who were struggling with taking tests, because I was a good test taker. And so we would get a room, like one of the teachers would let us use a room, and it would even have a whiteboard in it. This connects to an early childhood memory. I loved playing teacher. And I liked being the teacher. I liked my friends to sit. We would set up like we were a classroom, and I'd stand in front of the little classroom and I would teach my friends like as if we were really in school. And I loved how that felt. And so when I was in college, I really enjoyed doing that. So anytime I have found myself in a position of being able to help people, I feel like I'm in that flow state.
I have a comment from Chris. He says that I like that analogy. To find my river, I have to first find peace. Then I can try to pursue joy.
I like that a lot.
Would you be open to sharing more on that, Chris? You're more than welcome to join on mic if you're comfortable, by all means.
Sure. I I feel like I need to make sure that everybody around me is okay. And when I know that everybody around me is okay, then I don't have to worry too much. I can find my peace. And once I'm at peace, then I can think, oh wait, now I can look at silly things on the internet and waste a lot of times liking videos, and then I can think about joy in the silliest humane ways. But first I have to be at peace, and first I have to make sure that everybody around me is okay.
That's beautiful.
I really like that. That's a great way to put it, because I so relate to that, right? Like I can't have peace if everything isn't okay. So if everything's okay, that's the first layer, and then the next layer is peace can come, and then I think joy comes out of that. And I think that when you asked me at the beginning, why did I struggle? Because so much of my life has been in survival mode, right? So at best, I could get everything to be okay. And then maybe there'd be a little bit of peace. And then there'd be some more things to do to make everything okay. So this concept of joy, it's almost like I'm almost reminded of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like joy is something that you have like the privilege of when everything's okay and that you have peace. I really like that way of looking at it. Thanks for sharing that. Aw, thanks. I got a little heart. It's an emoji. I like that.
So what other questions are there to?
So what game, toy, or book brought you joy as a kid?
G.I. Joes.
Yeah, say more about that.
I enjoyed the hero element of it.
Say it.
The winning, the losing, the good guys, the bad guys. I enjoyed the story of it. It was fun.
That's cool. And somebody's entered the waiting room. Yay. Now that you say that though, I did that with Barbie dolls. Now that I think about it. And I guess people say Barbie dolls are GI Joes. Like I didn't ever make that connection before, but telling stories with the dolls.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was very lucky as a little girl. I got to get a Barbie dream house, one of the ones that had like 2 stories, and you could put Barbie in the different rooms. And I remember making up stories to what Barbie was doing. And then I was lucky enough to have more than one Barbie doll. And
How many Barbies did you have?
I didn't have a lot. I had like 2 or 3.
That's better than none.
That's absolutely. And then I would get like the following Christmas, I would get like another outfit or 2 outfits to put on my Barbie dolls. And so then depending on the outfits, and I love the little things like the little shoes, you know, the little shoes that go on the little Barbie feet,
Yeah.
and like the little Barbie belts, like all of that. And it's so funny because I'm not an accessory person personally, but there's something I really liked about all of the little accessory things that went on the Barbie dolls. So yeah.
I enjoyed playing hide and go seek too. Hide and go seek was one of my favorite things to play.
Yeah.
That brought me joy. The thrill of the chase.
Yeah.
I think the thrill of
That made me laugh, hide and go seek, in that giggly, like, oh my God, I'm gonna get caught kind of way, or I'm gonna get like somebody's gonna find me. Yeah. I never thought. I like talking about this stuff. It makes me think about things that I don't normally think about. Hi there, Leah joined us.
Hi, Leah.
Hi, Leah. Feel free to put your camera on and take your mic off and join us for the conversation.
If you're comfortable,
if you'd like to do that, you're welcome to. We're talking about what brings us joy, and we're talking about the trouble that we have with finding what brings us joy,
and the difficulties in that question.
Right?
The difficulties in that question. I'm fielding someone trying to get on.
Oh, okay.
So please don't mind me.
Yeah. Did you have any adults in your life show you what it meant to find joy? And then when I first saw that question, I was like, well, no, because my mind has a tendency to go to negative first. And I don't know if I'm the only one about that, but my first thing is, my knee jerk is always like negative. And then I thought, and you've heard me tell the story, I had a man who was my dad's friend, I guess, right? So when we were little, we didn't call people by their first names. People were either Mr. or Mrs., aunt or uncle. And that's how we showed respect to adults as children, right? So this was Uncle Pete, and Uncle Pete was a really tall guy, and he would come to visit. And this is the house I lived in before I was 7, so I have that memory. And so he would come, and he'd walk in the front door, and my sister and I are about the same age, and he'd say, okay, well, go up to your room. Now, our rooms are on the 2nd floor, and he'd make a big deal about it and tell us to go upstairs. And we would go upstairs, and under our pillows, you know, those great big swirly lollipops, the huge ones, we would each have a lollipop under our pillows. And it seemed so magical. Like, oh, you just walked in the front door. How did you put lollipops under our pillows? And it was so exciting. And my mother was later to tell the story that I was the only kid she ever knew that could take 15 bites out of an M&M, because I needed to make everything last. When I tell you that lollipop lasted me so long, it was like so exciting. But it was just the magic of it. Like, he taught me about magic. And magic is, wow, this is such a great conversation for me. I hope you all will join into this. Like, because I do magic for people like that. And I didn't know that it was magic.
Right? Say more on that.
Like, remember when I made you lobster for the first time? Right? Like, you didn't know that. You knew nothing about me. I had just met Joshua, and I had an occasion to make dinner. And I'm chef trained, and I have this whole background in food, but there's a couple of dishes that are like kind of showstopper type dishes. And so I hadn't made this one in a while. It's like stuffed lobster, and it's like the whole lobster, and it's really beautiful. And so
it's a whole thing. It's beautiful.
Thing. And I do it to bring joy for people. And the fact that I can do it and how I do it is like magic, like Uncle Pete putting lollipops under my pillow. That's cool.
Chris made a comment. Sorry, Kat.
Yeah.
He said, my dad built a mini car garage for my Hot Wheels, which basically was a dollhouse, and I spent hours making stories with my little cars. LOL.
I love
that's
that.
Awesome.
That's great.
Because as I'm hearing you talk about it, I think I go back to thinking about the games that I played, anything that makes me squeal like a kid. Like when you hear me playing Oculus brings me joy. Oculus brings me joy because it has the excitement of thrill and adrenaline, because I like playing the first person shooter games like Call of Duty and stuff, except in VR you're really in it. So when I get startled by whatever, it's like I jump up and I scream like a 5-year-old. Right.
that whoever was winning won at the end, whether he won or lost, the game's over because he squeals just like that. It's like, round's over.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. It's incredible. I
Yeah.
love
Your laugh like that is super infectious.
that's when I'm having a good time, is when I have that laugh.
Yeah.
Like that's what brings me, it also brings me ease, right? That's, I believe we're coming up to that.
Yeah. What brings you
It
ease.
also brings, it's like a tension release. Being joyful is there's a level of presence to it that, because you're so in it, you're so in what's happening, in the emotion, in the feeling, in the connection with what's happening, in the flow state, like you said. Something else that brings me joy like that is when I get to do jujitsu.
Yeah,
the exhaustion afterwards. It's like, it's a very, I feel joy in the exertion. I feel joy in the feeling alive. Right. I feel very capable at the end of a training session.
Yeah, I like that.
Regardless of my experience level, there's always been something that when I walk out of that door, I'm like, I've done something today.
That's cool. They all seem to be like, I can see all the pieces connecting around all this stuff, like because that piece about being present. Because one of the things I like about when I'm able to experience this is I live with a lot of internal chatter. I live with a lot of voices and a lot of negativity that I just deal with, right? Like, because it's just what it is to be me, right? And so, or what it has been to be me. But when I'm in this flow state or when something's happening, it's quiet. It's that peace. I really like that peace, that PIECE that Chris brought up about the PEACE, that kind of peace, right? Like that makes the difference. It's like, because I equate peace to being, the voices are still and quiet. Everything's okay. I'm in the moment. There isn't a problem. There's nothing to worry about. Everything's all right. And I'm reminded of that when you talk about like the moments on VR. And while I haven't done jujitsu, I have had times where I've either worked out, or when I used to run, I was a runner, and running would bring me peace. I love to run in the days that I did it. And then it's a calmness, which I guess would bring us to the what brings you ease question, which is another question around this topic. I don't know. It's very pedestrian or mundane, but one of the things that brings me ease really is like, if I make a to-do list in the morning and then I get to the end of the day and like all the things that had to be done are done, and I can measure that I had a successful day, even by virtue of the fact that I just did the things that I said that I needed to get done or I wanted to get done, like I can find ease in that. And it's been a hard transition because I worked, mostly in restaurants most of my career. I worked for other people. I worked for companies. I worked a lot of hours. And there's a greater definition around, like, you're either at work or you're not at work, right? When you work at a place, at a physical location, that's someone else's employ, right? It's like, well, I'm at work now and now I'm at home. And I mean, when you're a manager and you have things you worry about or whatever, but when you're self-employed, when as I am now, as we are building what we're building, there's this sense of being on all the time. And if I'm not, that I should be. Like, whatever it is I'm doing, it isn't enough. It's not good enough. And so ease comes for me from like just trying to find spaces where I say to myself, you did good, you've done enough. It's okay. You can take a break and relax. And that, I think that brings me, again, I love this. It brings me to the ease that can bring me to peace that would allow me to experience joy.
You know what brings me joy?
No.
And ease.
What?
Being able to sit back on the yellow sofa.
Right. Thank you for that, because I'm going to do the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, much better.
Yeah, let's bring this a little
Thank
closer.
you.
Ooh.
Wow, look at us.
Yeah, no, listen, we're
so
gonna get this.
technical
We're
here.
gonna get this figured out. So how about you guys? The difference between ease and joy. You back there behind the computer.
You have a microphone.
You have the microphone. Bring the microphone a little to the middle so you can share with us too. There you go. So What are some of your happiest memories, or what brings you joy, or what makes you laugh?
Well, I was thinking about what some of my happiest memories may be when you were answering that question, Kat. And I was thinking about, I don't know, I must have been like 6 or 7 and it's Halloween and I'm going out and I lived in one of those households with an almond mom where all the snacks were just like almonds and popcorn. So Halloween was like one of the only times we were able to have candy. And so every holiday, whenever it came around and there was candy, I would just get completely sick. But it was awesome. And I realize now that I felt so happy those days because I was probably just so high on sugar. But I was just thinking about one of my Halloweens at 6 or 7. I just remember being really, really excited. And yeah, I was probably one of my happier memories. So that I can remember as well.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that brings to mind.
That makes me think about
Halloween.
Halloween, right? And this is why these conversations are important, right? Because these memories, these moments will stay locked in our minds unless we hear someone else bring it up, right? And it's like you talking about Halloween really brings me. Granted, Halloween was never like a type of thing. It was always some sort of disappointment, not enough candy or shit candy or the costume sucked. Right? There was always something. Right?
Wow.
Oh, you went to the wrong neighborhoods and you didn't get the right candy.
You got to see where I lived. So it was like, yeah, Halloween, especially here in New York City, it's not the same thing as anywhere else in the country.
That's
like
fair.
you go trick or treating in your project, or in your building, and it's like 3/4 of the people don't even answer their doors because no one's doing that because of the fear of the razor blades and all that. Anyway, so Halloween, not so much, but the excitement of Halloween, right? Oh, maybe this one will be better, right? And disappointment or not, maybe that's why I don't dress up for Halloween.
Maybe that sounds like it. It sounds like you.
Yeah, listen, between my Halloween and birthdays, man, and Christmas.
So funny. I always laugh because my sister and I were very cutthroat about it, like about Halloween. We were not about the costumes, but you had to be in a costume in order for anybody to want to give you candy. So
yeah. Oh. Go ahead. Sorry, I'll write this down. Oh, no. I'll write this down.
All right. So for us, there was two things. What side of Halloween did daylight savings fall? Because if daylight savings fell after Halloween, then Halloween had more daylight time at night. So you had like an extra hour of trick or treating, which was awesome. Now it always falls after Halloween, but back in my day, it could be either side depending on the year, right? So my sister and I would go home. Our dad was much bigger than us, so what we would do is we put on our dad's construction clothes, put black stuff on our face, call ourselves hobos, get a pillowcase for a sack, and then we would just go around and get as much candy as fast as we could. I felt like we were cheating the holiday because like we didn't care what we looked like, we didn't care about our costumes, we were just doing it because we had to so we could go get the candy.
What popped into my mind, give me one second. All right, that way you guys can see my eyeballs. Just kidding. So haunted houses. Halloween sucked, but I love scaring the crap out of people. Right? I remember one time. This is why this shit's so important, man. What my family liked to do was set up the apartment as a haunted house, and the kids would come to the door in the buildings, in the projects. You knock on the door would open, and it's all black except for the bowl and a creature sitting in the chair right at the edge of the table. And the kids would come in. This is in the 80s. The kids would come in and they'd go for it. And then it was my older brother who was dressed up at the time. He'd scare them, like reach for them, and they'd take off and leave flip-flops and bags of candy and stuff like that. It was actually really funny.
I don't like scary stuff.
That shit brings me joy.
That's cool. That stuff just
scaring
brings me
people.
I don't like
scaring people brings me so much joy. It does. It's like such a joyous thing. Because when a person goes and they pee it up a little bit, that's funny. It's funny. It's like that spike of whatever it is that they're experiencing, and that spike of whatever I'm experiencing, joy. but I have to pick and choose. I have not pick and choose. I have to find out who's open to that because some people aren't and some people are. Right. So it's like, uh, so how about this? How about this? I'm going to come back to this joy thing. Like, what brings me joy with you? Uh, New experiences, watching you experience something. Like when we did that waterfall hike in El Paso.
Mm-hmm.
What brought me joy was your conviction and perseverance and not giving up in that 20-minute death-defying hike.
That was
That we
death
got
defying. I don't care what anybody says.
zero work up to it. Leilani and Rudy, I love you guys. That was awesome. Perfect, because they wouldn't have done it any other way.
No.
But that brought me a lot of joy seeing you accomplish something. Like I was your number one, like I was your cheerleader.
I know you were. And you're my number one cheerleader all the time. And that brings me joy. Right? When you're not busy terrorizing me to walk down a side of a cliff that if I took one wrong move, I'd fall and die. Other than that.
I was motivating. I was motivating.
But I know what you mean. I was, one of the things I was thinking about, if we're gonna go to this realm, I had sort of an awareness, right? Like I learned from you when you took me once to a gym or a couple times to do some training. And I had that, I won't show you now. I'd have to get up and do the whole thing. But like when you squat down, I thought I was one of those people that couldn't keep my feet flat on the ground and squat all the way down. I just thought that physically I wasn't built that way. And you used to say, yes, you can. And I would be mad at you. No, I can't. I know I can't. And you pushed and pushed and pushed. And then it happened that I could. I was dumbfounded that I could do that. I can still do it. Like once my body figured out how to do it. And it only happened because you pushed. And I hate you for it. And I love you for it. And but what I was thinking is because of the circumstances surrounding my childhood and the way I responded to it, nobody challenged me. I didn't have people around me who challenged me. I had people around me who like felt sorry for me. I had people around me who, either tried to protect me or whatever. But I just was thinking that like you were saying about the jujitsu, I think there is something to being challenged, not in a bad way, but in a good way, to see that you can accomplish more than you thought you could. And there's a certain amount of like joy in that experience of like, I can do it.
Oh yeah. Succeeding.
Yeah. But succeeding at something that you weren't sure you'd be able to.
Yeah.
Right. Like there's joy in that. And as I think about that, that's kind of the work that we do just generally with people, right? Like we do work with people where you walk through whatever your life experience is. And with just a few tools and a few questions and a little bit of space, you see you can do it and you didn't think you could. And I get joy out of helping people to do that too. I don't know if any of that made sense.
No, it does. It absolutely does.
It
absolutely does.
So does anyone have any experiences they want to talk about?
Or share? Accidental joy.
Say more about that.
I just made that shit up. Now I got to think about it. Let me see. Oh, like discovering you like something for the first time.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, right.
Well, especially if it's something you didn't think you would like.
Or how about something you've been opposed to?
Right.
And then you discovered, wow, yes. For example, I know some folks have hard views on guns. And then I've taken them shooting because I was a firearms instructor in the military. So, and being able to empower someone with that ability to use a firearm. And like you said, watching someone accomplish something that one, they didn't think they could do, or two, they were opposed to doing simply because of their position at the time. And it's like to go on the other side, to come on the other side of something that you were averse to and be like, oh, wow, I do enjoy that.
Yeah.
And I do find joy in X.
Yeah.
Right. So like things that people are into recreationally. Let's say, because I have a whole range of things I can bring into, but I don't want to go down that road. I want to go into things that are accessible to everyone.
Okay.
Like hobbies.
Well, because I was thinking as you were talking that so there's this thing about helping people, but I think there's also something about teaching people and teaching, like facilitating, like an experience for people, especially one in the realm of something that they didn't think they could do. So not only is there the acquisition of a new skill or a new experience or an awareness, but there's the acquisition of a different, a better sense of self, like a more enhanced sense of self, because now you can do something you didn't think you could do.
Keep going.
Yeah, so that's the sort of the more nebulous way of looking at it. But yeah, just even the simple things. Like I always say to people, because I do cook, I'm well trained and I'm good at cooking, and I will make the offer to anybody. I will teach you anything I know. Nothing brings me greater joy than to have someone come in the kitchen with me and want to know how to make something. And people think cooking is hard, and there's parts of cooking that can be hard, but there's a science to it. Like cooking has a math. Cooking has its own math, and it's like it's accessible, and I'm happy to do that with people. Not that many people take me up on the offer, but the offer's always there. If you want to come and cook, I'll teach you how to cook.
I have 2 comments.
Yes.
D says, not trying to interrupt your flow, but I'm curious how the King Collective and SSDCE were born, as well as the relationship between Joshua and Kat and how you met. And just to go underneath too, Chris says, I find joy in teaching my visiting friends how to walk fast through Times Square. And I don't know how to explain the emoji that it is, but it's like
That's so
like
funny.
and a little mustache.
That's awesome.
It's really
That's
cute.
awesome. No, yes, one of the things that brings me joy, and then we'll come back to Dee's question because we can dive into that. I enjoy when people visit New York. The joy I find is showing them New York isn't what they think it is. Is it the crime-ridden city? 100%, but it's also nice.
And people are friendly here. I like dispelling the idea that New Yorkers are not nice, because I don't think it's true. At least not entirely true, not any more true than anywhere else. But Chris, I hate to tell you, walking through Times Square can be the bane of my existence. I worked there.
Does not bring her joy.
I worked there for 3 years, and I worked on 47th, the 5-block walk from the train at 42nd to where I worked at 47th, there and back every day. Worst 20 minutes of my life every day.
That's so funny. I'm sorry.
Well, that's because those tourists that you were talking about don't know how to walk through Times Square. They'll be 4 wide on the sidewalk and just stop and start taking pictures. And I always want to say, hey, some of us live here. We're trying to get to work. Like, move. Not happy.
4 wide, shoulder to shoulder, or holding hands.
Yeah. And then stop right in the middle of the sidewalk to look up at the billboards and take pictures.
I do. I look up to.
All right. Enough of that.
So, King Collective and SSDCE. How are they intertwined?
Well, one came before the other, right? Like you and I met, and we could
Let's
do all.
start
We
there.
could do
Let's
all
start
the
there.
thing-
We'll start a
all the
little
whole
bit
thing
in
out,
there.
right? So I had a club on 7th Avenue around 27th, and it was a club that did BDSM parties. We did swing parties, and then I met you, and then
I was also hosting events actually 2 blocks away, and my then girlfriend knew her late husband.
Yeah, so I was married. My husband had been sick. I had the club that I had. He and I had together, and then he was diagnosed with a cancer. He got sick very quickly and died 4 months later. And then I actually met your ex-girlfriend she came and did a Shiva call at my house, and that was the first time I had met her. And then she told me that day about her boyfriend. I had heard about you that day. I didn't meet you though for a little while later.
Now, she had known Saul for about 15 years.
Yeah, 15, 20 years.
They've known each other for a period of time. She had worked for him for a period of time, and that's how their relationship
that's how she knew him. And that was in before the time that I knew him. So that was like ancient sort of history in a way. So because this story can be lengthy.
It can be a long story.
Depending on how we tell it.
So ultimately, relationships ended, and Kat and I, we were there for each other when we both needed each other.
Yeah.
And
we connected over, we have such similarities in terms of all of the stuff we've been talking about, how to help people, how to support people, how things ought to be done. We also
Ought to
have a
be done
very,
in the sense of how are things run in spaces that are people come in with vulnerability and desire to grow.
yeah. And we do have a certain, we both have a certain sense of how things should be, right? Like how,
At least the way we like things to be.
right. And at least we like things to be in the same way as each other.
Yeah. And what does that mean?
You know, things like we started things on time. We made sure things ended on time. We made sure people had what they needed. The place was clean. Like we gave people a sense of connection, and we helped people on their journey. We understood that the people who came through the door that were new were probably the most important people in the room and needed to be treated with the most amount of kindness and support. And all of those things that we each did separately, we sort of came together and did together easily.
It's funny because joy being the conversation today, my intention in hosting events is to help people find joy in their journey through all the stress of trying to discover who am I in this world where I'm not who I thought I was. And it's like to feel safe in the spaces that we created independently and then jointly. Now, as the King Collective grew, the intention behind that is to host events and education, particularly educational experiences, where folks can come with their questions about sexual identity as a whole. SSDCE was born of King Collective in the sense that the sexual identity, the journey to discovering and understanding sexual identity is a large journey, and it transcends more than what activities we are doing or experiencing in energy exchange. And it goes to the level of how am I experiencing this thing called life and with the people around me. Over the years, we discovered the importance of being a nice person and how when you transcend through the doors of sexual identity and you just go into identity and what do I believe in as a person and what do I believe is happening in this reality that we call life, that's where SSDCE comes into. And it's more than just the questions around sexual identity, but it pertains to our beliefs, our purposes, our intentions, our sexual identities, our connections, our relationships with intimacy and touch and love and personal development. Like we don't believe a person should have to wait until they feel something is broken to work on it.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how SSDCE was born from Kink Collective, because it's so much larger than a person's relationship with sexual identity. It's a person's relationship with identity.
And SSDCE is essentially three parts, right? The first part is sanctuary. And I think that we were doing that all the time, like the safe space that we both insisted on having there be for people. We created a sanctuary, not necessarily in physical location, but just like in spirit and in space, like to sit and hold space with someone creates like a sanctuary, even if it's just in the context of a 20-minute conversation, right? And then spiritual development, because I think that's, for me, everything that you just said in terms of, you know, the search for sexual identity transcending into the overall search for identity is all about spiritual development. It's spiritual to me, meaning anything that has to do with essentially my spirit. Who am I as a soul, as a person in the world, and what am I doing to develop that? How does that get developed? And it happens all kinds of ways and places in like 20-minute conversations that we hold for one another. Then the third part is the consciousness expansion, and that comes out of a particular modality of growth, but it's almost an extension of spiritual development, right? Like once I'm on the path of spiritual development, like my mind has been expanded a lot. I mean, I've been on a journey like this for most of my life. But the progress that's made, the forward motion that I've been able to make in the last 5 years since meeting you and being on this journey with you together, had put those three pieces together. So when we were sitting down to say what are we going to be called as we move forward, that's where that name was born. And because saying sanctuary for spiritual development and consciousness expansion is a lot of syllables, we ended up being reduced down to SSDCE.
I like how you said expanded and well, you said expand consciousness expansion. Sorry. We were talking about expanding awareness, consciousness expanding, but it's also being refined in that expansion. Perspective is shifting. We're getting different insights. And that affects this whole journey.
Yeah.
Right. When you can shift perspective and it changes or adds or modifies the value of what you perceive to be true, that in and of itself gets integrated into how am I operating in this planet.
Yeah. And I've watched us both do it. I mean, watching you do it has been amazing. Like where you are now from who you were when I met you and the things that you believe and has been totally transformed by the journey you've been on.
I was kind of a caveman. I kind of still am.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Yeah, that part. But you're a much more evolved caveman than you were 5 years ago.
Fire.
But I mean, I feel like I too have made growth. I've grown out of some bad habits. There's awarenesses that I've gained, and it's all under the realm of spiritual development, right? Like I went to school, I went to seminary. I believe in, essentially by my essence, I'm an interfaith minister. I believe that all of the world's religions all point to the same thing. There's a spirit that we all have and share. And the most noble thing that we can do is develop our spirit. However that is, whether it's kindness to other people, learning new things, helping out people, wherever you find people who need help, people a little less fortunate than you. There's all kinds of ways to develop one's spirit.
That brings me back to what Dee said earlier about helping people and bringing joy.
Yeah.
Like that's a really big thing for me.
Mhm.
I feel joy when I get to do that. Dee, I hope that answered your question, the first question and the second question, and then my statement on the third.
We have a question from Leah. She is asking, how do you navigate finding your joy during tough seasons when you just aren't as joyful?
Yeah.
Awesome question.
Well, that's how I started out this conversation tonight, right? Like my journey has not been easy. There's been lots of places on my journey that haven't been easy. And truthfully, joy has not always been that readily accessible. There was let me be serious. There was a long period of my life, and people who know me now, I mean, it hasn't been till that long ago, when you would say things to me like, well, what brings you joy? Or what do you like to do for fun? The answer in my head was essentially like,
stop talking to me.
Yeah, shut up. Like, why are you asking me these questions? Like, that was my response. And so I don't get like annoyed anymore, and I don't not respond anymore.
Come say hi to the camera. Oh, and those fucking flies.
I know it's driving you nuts. I saw it.
No, come like right. Just say hi.
Look, that's Natalie, everyone.
That's Natalie.
That's me. I'm behind the camera, but I'm in front of it right now, and I'm gonna go back. Bye.
That's all the technical stuff. But yeah, so holding on to joy during tough times, I think being able to carve out some joy. One of the other questions that we haven't gotten to yet is, and I'll jump ahead. If you decided to make joy a priority, what changes would you make?
One second. What comes to mind is if I'm feeling down, if I'm feeling without joy, if I'm feeling harshness, going out and doing something for someone else helps bring me joy. Because even if I'm going through that hard time, even if it was fucking giving food away to a homeless person, someone with less than me going through something that I perceive to be more difficult than myself, gives me gratitude of where I'm at.
That was the other word I was thinking of when you said it.
Right. Because it's like, while I'm less fortunate at this moment in this situation, I can still make a positive impact somewhere, and I can still find a value in my action, right? A purpose within my behavior.
One of the tools that I was taught a long time ago was that gratitude's not a feeling, it's an action. And so one of the ways to do that is to literally physically pen and paper make a gratitude list, right? Like when I'm in it and I force myself to think, and sometimes gratitude is as simple as I have food today, I have a roof over my head, I have clothes to wear, I have food to eat. There's people who love me. Like when you start listing out the things that you have to be grateful for, it absolutely shifts my focus. It moves me away from negativity and at least closer back to a place where I can find some of that ease and then peace that will ultimately lead me back to joy.
Another one, I forget where I picked up this exercise, but it's everywhere. It's when you start feeling is the anxiety, because I had my first anxiety attack last year, was it? And it was fucking gripping. It was really just, it really shook me. And some of the things I was reading about helping overcome anxiety or like an attack or something where you're really in it is to look around the room and pick out 3 things that you find beautiful.
I like that.
Right. Because it really takes you out of, at least you're trying to work on coming out of that space. Yeah. Right. So maybe we can, if we can discover what brings us joy, set that in motion and set that intention in motion when you feel you're down. Right. Make a dish. In my case, I would make a meal and I go outside and give it away. If I could, if that's within my ability.
I like that.
Right. Something that I can say, you know what, even though this is what I'm receiving now, let me change that outward.
Well, what helped me to do that is when I'm not in the anxiety or in the bad is to make a list of those things. What are those things I can do? And then find that list when I'm in it. Because when I'm in it, I can't remember anything. When I'm in anxiety or I'm in a bad spot, it's really hard for me to remember any of the tools, any of the things that help. It's like being knocked over by an ocean wave for me. And then I'm like floundering around in the water. Like, I don't know if anyone has ever had that, but when the ocean's been really rough and you get knocked off and then you're caught around and you can't get your footing in the sand to get back up again. That's what happens for me when I'm in anxiety and I'm in a bad space, right? So having that, then's not the time for me to try to think what would help me.
What will help?
Right? What I need is like the list of things that I can already know, and then I can refer to the list and be reminded.
Yeah. So maybe build on this list prior, Leah, and should something like this happen, revert to the list, right? Something that, especially if it's an action, something that you can take action and you can feel it in your body, because it's really hard to imaginate this stuff when it's happening in real time in your body.
Speaking of in your body, one of the tools that has been given to me to try is a cold shower, which I shudder at the thought of. But people have said that when I'm in that space, and I've tried it and it works. It's not that I get joy from a cold shower, but there is a sense of like
presence.
I'm okay.
Oh my God, it's so cold.
But almost like afterwards, like shocking my body with the cold water, the feeling that comes after that is that it brings me closer to that peace. And peace is my way out of the anxiety and the negativity and the challenge.
Dee has shared a quote by Shirley MacLaine, and it says, "Dwelling on the negative simply contributes to its power."
Absolutely. Yeah. No question.
Yeah.
And well put.
Leah, we hope that helped. And I'm sure, because I think I Googled that looking for the 3 beautiful things, and because the anxiety really hit. I mean, you remember, it was like it froze me, and I didn't know what to do, and I looked up a few things, and when I came across that, the ability to take a moment to pause, because pausing is another thing. This is something I literally discovered 2 days ago. Crazy, like taking a breath, right? When people say that shit, take a breath. What does that even mean? It literally means that, like, you hear bad news, you hear something that jars you, and I'm still working on this shit. You hear something that shakes you, and you just pause and you just stop, and you take a breath or 2 or 3 to give yourself that separation from the reaction, to try to assess all the circumstances, to say, how am I expected to react versus how do I want to react? And, or even shorter, will my response, because you can't react, it has to be a response.
I was just about to say the difference between those two.
The reaction is like throwing water and oil, hot oil, instant, as opposed to simmering something in oil and then letting it build up. It'll take a while before it starts splashing all over the place, right? Don't throw water in hot oil.
Not for nothing.
Not for nothing, but you took my lollipop.
I'll share it. I don't have water.
So taking that moment to ask yourself, will this get me closer to where I want to be? Or will this choice represent who I am? You can manipulate reality. You can change reality to how you want it to be simply by your responding versus reacting. Because it's like it totally flips the script on, wow, I didn't expect this person to really process this situation. Easier said than done. Like, listen, I'm still trying to figure this out myself, but that's like,
What I was thinking, the phrase that came to mind as we were talking about it is this thing called a magnifying mind. Like the quote that we just heard from Shirley MacLaine, like, what I focus on is what gets bigger. So if I focus on the negative gets bigger. If I focus on the positive gets bigger. But I'm just wired, and I don't think I'm wired. I think I was trained into being afraid and being negative and always having negativity as my knee-jerk reaction to things. Like, that's how I have become wired over the years. And sometimes it is as simple as like literally taking myself and forcing me to look at positive away from it. Like, it's work, but it's worthwhile because I don't like staying stuck in the negative. And there is something about it. It's what becomes real. Like whatever you can, you're right. Like what you just said, I just made the connection for what you just said. It's like you can create your reality based on what you focus on. Right. So if you focus on the negative, that is what's real to you. If you focus on the positive, that then also is what is real. And one can be more real than the other, depending on how you focus on it. If that made any sense.
Did that help?
I don't know if that helped. Anybody have anything else they want to contribute?
Chris just commented, someone once told me, if you can't find time for self-care, go wash your hands. And and I took it to mean that a simple act that's already included in my routine can mean so much more. It can mean time I care for my body, time for washing away negative thoughts, and that pause to recalibrate. And Leah says, yes, exclamation point.
That's
Chris.
awesome.
Chris, I don't know if I've professed my love for you
you're
yet.
The shit, really.
But you're fucking awesome, dude.
Yeah.
If you ever get a chance, anyone else ever get a chance to meet this person, he is.
Yeah.
You're awesome, dude. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great.
Because that I can integrate that.
Yeah.
I've never, like, that makes so much sense.
Self-care is one of those things for me that's been like joy. Like up until now, I like when people say, "Oh, self-care," like it makes me bristle inside. And then
I hear self-care and I'm like, yeah, I masturbate. No, but
that's not what's meant.
That's not what the ability to take the hands, to take your time and go wash your hands. Like that's
who doesn't have time for that?
That's incredible. Like I'm going to put that in my
simple.
My routine.
Yeah.
Because from just thinking about it, what happens there is I immediately want to do this. Wash my face, right? Yeah. Just to wash the exhaustion, wash the emotion out of it, to be fresh. Dude, golden nugget. Let me put that.
I know. You write that down.
Wash hands. Yeah. You're like, duh, don't you always?
Yeah, but there's no, but
there's a difference between just pausing and saying, I'm gonna go wash my hands.
Yeah. No, that's a big deal. I mean, and hand washing's been a big deal to me. I was one of those kids that was kind of like we used to say, what were you raised in a barn? When it comes to the subject of hand washing, I didn't get the best practices where I came from. So as I kind of went into adulthood, like in restaurant, there's proper hygiene when you're working with people and around food and stuff. But at home on my own, like, sometimes I don't pay attention to it. And I get a great deal of joy. I do get joy from washing my hands now.
It's funny because I get joy. This is going to be a little off the cuff, and a lot of people don't know this about me. But I wash my hands before I pee and after. The reason being is you've been touching everything all over the place, and then you're gonna go touch yourself. Like it's like I don't pee on my hands, but I've been touching everything else, right? So it's like,
This sounds like the sock and the shoe thing. And
oh, you remember that one? I'll tell you that one in a
Right.
second. No, but then I watched the movie, and it was I think it was Samuel L. Jackson. He was like the negotiator, I think it was called, and he was washing his hands before he peed. Actually, I think that's where I got it from.
Thank you, Samuel
and
Jackson.
he said, I don't piss on my hands. I was like, of course that makes sense. And he explained it. I'm like, I was a teenager when that shit. It's like, oh my god. But I forgot how I got there. Anyway, wash your hands before you pee.
That, yeah, that.
Oh, the joy of
Right.
because it's like people would look at me and they'd be like, but that makes no sense. And then I would explain it, and then they'll have that aha, because like that's a real thing.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
Oh, who's on with us?
I think Master Eli has joined us. Oh, and Shelly's come. Yay.
Oh, Master Eli.
Hello, I'm just renaming myself and moving stuff around. How y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
So we're having a fairly lengthy conversation here about what brings us joy.
Yeah.
And all of the things around the idea of joy.
Because so joy, like that's a question that you know us, right? You know how we talk. But what brings you joy? What brings you joy?
Oh wow. Ooh. I can actually say what brings me joy is not having anything to do, not having anything going on in my brain, not having to be able to zone out brings me joy.
Exactly.
To be present, right?
Just be present in the moment. When I am thinking about meditating, that actually brings me joy. Like preparing for my meditation brings me joy. Because I know that I don't have to think about anything. I don't have to, I just can be present in the moment. I can listen to what's going on. I can listen to my heartbeat. That brings me joy. Yeah. To be stable.
As you're saying that, what I think about these experiences of brotherhood, because this has been very prevalent to me over the last couple months, is because as I'm going through life and I'm learning about things that are important to me, things that I've missed, things that I need in my life, to come into contact with those who, and I'm going to come into brotherhood and my relationship with masculinity and my relationship with other men on a community level. It brings me joy to be able to achieve that type of connection because I've been hungry for, and so have the people I've been connecting with have been hungry for these types of bonds. And that brings me joy, the fulfillment of accomplishment or of building, of curating, right? To say this is like, it's like a plant. And I'm
caring for
like caring for a plant.
Yeah.
Right. And now I can understand the significance and joy of having plants because you care for these living entities and you watch them grow and you watch them become who they are. And it's like there's a joy in fostering growth.
I like that.
Personally.
Yeah. I feel compelled at this point, though, to speak for the other side of the spectrum. The joy I get from meditation is when the bell goes off at the end, knowing that I got through it. I have a sponsor who says to me, meditation's a practice, it's not an achievement. And there are times where I set the timer and all manner of things goes on in my head for the entire time. But as long as I sit, when it's done, the joy is that I did it. I got through it. I did not have the experience of peace and my thoughts being quieted and all of that stuff. It's a big old racket up here for 7, 8, 10, however many minutes, 15 minutes I'm going to meditate. But that bell goes off and I did it. I just say that for anyone else whose experience with meditation isn't such a easy time.
Yeah.
I also manifest with what you're saying with the growth and watching. I'm a plant daddy, so I resonate with that. And watching something other than people, but watching something that you created manifest. It brings me joy. Um, to have an idea about something. And I could share with y'all, like in my head, I created Leather Boys of Color and Leather Girls of Color. And so to sit back and watch them manifest, watch Leather Girls of Color grow, and see that need for an idea that I had, and just sit back. I don't do anything. I just watch them. And watching the girls have a girl group. And I don't take up space, but every now and then I'll pop in and they're just like, oh, Master Eli's here. And I'm just like, wow. It's like watching your kids grow up after, all the go, and then you see them get through high school and you see through college, and then you see them get married. It's like, wow, I did that.
That's awesome.
So
When you say that,
joy.
it makes me think about like when did we this weekend we had Power Exchange Academy here, and for the first time we offered drop-in classes where folks can come in for individual classes, and my former slave came with a play partner, and I got to watch them engage in a way that we engaged, except they were with their partner and they were taking everything they've experienced and integrated into their own energy transfer. And it was like, yes.
Yeah, that was fun to watch.
It all happened right there in
Yes.
your brain. Like, wow.
I feel like the proudest parent.
Yeah. Yes.
But the joy
Yes.
the joy of success, the joy of accomplishment, the joy of empowerment, right? Because you were driving this car. I'm watching you from the sidelines. Right. And
Yeah, that was
that
fun.
brings a lot of joy to me.
Yeah, I'm never as happy as when we're in the middle of an intensive and I get to be present for people's journey, those moments that people have, that their lights go on and they're like, oh my God, and things make sense. And I just feel like, how did I get to be so lucky to be here and do this? It's like the most grateful and the most joyful moments that I have. And it's not joy like happy joy. It's joy like fulfillment joy. Like, I guess fulfillment is the best word for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the investment
it's peace, but it's peace at another level than just not the calm peace, but like a wow, yeah, it's hard to find words.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So what game, toy, or book brought you joy as a kid? I mentioned G.I. Joe's before. G.I. Joe's was a big deal for me because it gave me creativity, but I always went to the same fucking storylines. I always played the same storyline. Baroness was always like I love Baroness and her military outfit with a big cobra on her chest. And then I always had
was that female G.I. Joe?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know there were female G.I. Joe.
Yeah, oh yeah. And then I had my good guy. It was generally Snake Eyes or Storm Shadow. I made Storm Shadow a good guy because he was cool. He's a ninja. But it was always the same story of good versus evil. And it was this whole dying on the grenade type, like hero's journey thing ever since I was a kid.
Like literally the falling on the grenade.
Not literally, but like, the good guy gets captured and stuff like that. But there was a whole.
You kept doing the same story over and over, like
same story.
What's her name? Wanda.
He was controlling G.I. Joe's, and it's like the struggle to success, and then the success, and then it was like I felt one joy in the play, in the story, but also joy in the emotional roller coaster of it too. It was like it made me feel alive. Like it made me feel in it.
That's a lot for some kid toys to get all that. That's pretty cool. Yeah. That's a lot.
Because I don't think about it until moments like this.
Yeah. I think one of the things I'm a singer. I can sing, and I've always been able to sing. Singing in some ways saved my life. I mean, I started singing when I was in like the first or second grade, and then I sang all the way. I still sing, but there's something very, I think it's a particular kind of joy with the way singing feels in my body. When I sing, there's a physical feeling in my body where the sound resonates and it feels really good. Like in a very like kind of gratifying way.
How? What's the sound? Yes.
Like that. Um, and so like singing does that, right? Like for
I
me,
can feel it. It's that flow.
yeah. And
It's that
I
flow
think that
state.
it's talent, right? Like I was, everybody's born with gifts. We all have gifts, and singing is one of mine. And so that goes back to the thing I was saying earlier about being good at something or feeling good at doing something that you are good at brings for me a certain degree of joy.
And you don't even have to be good at it.
No, you don't.
You don't have to be good at it.
No, singing
Like,
in
because
the
there's some
shower is
people.
perfectly acceptable.
I was gonna say,
Singing in the
listen,
shower is beautiful.
I know people who dance because that shit brings them joy, and they have no fucking reason dancing because they poke somebody's eye out, man. You listen, those fingers can be very unpredictable. But
Yes, I
there's a
get the same amount of joy out of dancing, which I'm bad at, that I do at singing that I'm good at.
there's a
Fair.
freedom and a permission.
Yes,
right?
that's true.
Or
To do
or
what
at
you
least
want to do.
to do what you want to
To
do.
do what you want to do, regardless of how good you are at it. Like being good at it doesn't have to be the reason why you do something, because you want to do it is the reason why you do it.
It's like dancing. I want to dance to where my body releases. I want to sing because I know I feel it. I feel it all inside of me.
I've heard it. It's
right?
there.
And it's like, but shame keeps me from joy. Oh yeah, embarrassment. I don't want to be made fun of. I don't want somebody even to compliment me is to embarrass me, right? It's to like let me exist in my own space and time so I can feel it and not feel like someone could make fun of me for trying to experience joy.
Wow. That's intense. Does anyone else have that? Is that anybody else's experience? I have lots of things that I have shame around, and you know, being laughed at and made fun of is a big part of my narrative. But I don't necessarily have it connected with things that would make me feel joy. So that's something.
Yeah, like things I prevent myself from engaging in because I
listen,
don't.
I've seen you dance. I won't compliment, and I'm not the only one in this room who has seen you dance. Just saying.
Or danced with. But it's like, you know, what's wild is that I feel it inside of me. But there's this wall that prevents it from yeah.
Do you think that sometimes we take possession, us taking possession of our fear also helps us to like be that conqueror? Because like I say, like you just finished saying, you say a compliment sometimes make you feel a certain way. Well,
yeah.
I can speak for myself. A lot of times people are like, "Oh, Eli, you look nice. Oh, Eli, you did that." And I think that a lot of people don't realize how much confidence I have to tell myself that so many times before I even walk out the door. So by the time I actually get a compliment, it's just reassuring what I have already conquered, the denial that I had already denied myself before I walked out the door, before I said, okay, fuck it, I'm not changing no more. This is it. And then I go out and then people are like, oh, well, don't you look nice? And I'm like,
Well, I mean, I'm on this side of the eyeball, and you are always fine.
Yeah. Yes.
Chris has shared something. He said, shame has also kept me from experiencing joy in front of others. It also oriented me to my journey of self-love and reminded me that to exist is enough reason to feel joy.
Yeah.
Chris.
Master Eli, you need to meet Chris. Chris is no joke. He's one of our alumni, our
Yeah,
brethren.
I like what Chris wrote. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it.
So it's like now I want to find ways to push those envelopes, but it's like I want to be alone.
That's precious for you. Yeah.
When you're doing so much, sir, pushing yourself to the next level and pushing yourself to the next achievement becomes rougher and rougher each time. But when you find something that you are good at and something that comes from the heart, that's when you know that you're doing what you were sent here to do. A lot of people are running around trying to find out what their mission in life is. But you actually walk in your journey and you're doing what your mission is. You're doing what your heart tells you to do. And so sometimes when it don't even seem like we got it all conquered, it's because we haven't given ourselves grace and mercy enough to know that we are doing what the higher power of the universe sent us here to do.
That's probably the first time I've ever heard anybody use the word mercy in a way I could really relate to it. So thank you for saying that.
Oh, wow.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Because I don't show myself a lot of that.
Mm-mm.
And I like the way you use the phrase that way.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like I feel it trapped in my body.
Mm-mm.
I feel opportunities of freedom and joy trapped.
Oh.
You know, it's wild because, and this is part of our uncovered conversations that we do. People don't see this side of us being who we are and taking the responsibilities that we do. And it's like people look and they say, surely they've got shit figured out. And it's like,
Because they call themselves
I'm just drowning a little prettier. Okay. It's like, no, my it's not a backstroke. It's just like I'm trying to reach for something that way. Right? I'm not swimming through anything. It's it's difficult in its own right.
Mm-hmm.
But like now that we're talking about, like I can feel it. I can feel it in my chest and I can feel it in my lower back.
Which brings us to one of the questions that I had is how and where in your body do you experience joy? In your body or in your emotions? How do you know that you're experiencing joy? What does that feel like? What does that look like? Or in this case, what you're not expressing or you're not able to engage with.
Well, when I'm feeling joy, I get giddy like a fucking like a child, right?
Yeah.
Like you see me when I'm playing online, I
Yeah.
get that last kill and I'm like, I brag, I talk so much trash. Oh my God, I'm the worst. I'm the best.
He does talk trash.
But it feels like you know when you play dodgeball, if you play
Mm-hmm.
dodgeball and they missed you, like that excitement, that's that feeling of joy.
Yeah.
Especially when you do a good duck
Yo, dude, listen,
and it goes back past you, you be like, yeah.
that's joy. That's like you can bottle that stuff.
Yeah.
I feel that in my chest. It's almost in my lungs because it's like it comes with a boost of energy
That's cool.
and
That
like
sounds really amazing,
and like
actually.
heavy breathing. Like
Yeah.
I'm awake.
Can I share how joy manifests in my body? Because you inspired me, because especially about the whole lungs. You were talking about how you feel like awake. And it feels like when I'm experiencing joy that I'm breathing so deep and my chest is expanding so wide that my ribs are just about to just rip open my skin. And it feels, that sounds so dramatic and intense, but it also feels so light. And my body just doesn't have any points of heaviness whatsoever. I feel like I'm naked and barefoot, and I'm just able to experience the flow that is running through my body, which isn't necessarily something that I'm able to feel with any other type of emotion. So
That's pretty solid.
Yeah, that's
that
really
makes me
cool.
think of, because as you're saying that, I'm thinking about what happened over here over Saturday night,
yes,
where it's almost like when the race is about to start, when they're on 3, 2, right between 1 and go, all your weight is lifting forward.
yes.
That's joy for me too. That's like fucking, it's on.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Yes. Awesome. Thank you.
It's funny because what I'm hearing you guys talk about are things that are in the realm of what I consider to be like physical prowess, right? Being able to do those things. And one of the I don't say it to be heavy or sad or anything, but I don't have a lot of that. I'm physically not, like, I was the kid who was always picked last. I'm not really very good at, I was never very good at any of those games. There's no joy for me. Like gym was like the bane of my entire existence, my whole life through school, right?
You ever score when you win a game by yourself? That fucking hand, that Monopoly round, that last roll.
Yeah.
That feeling.
Uno.
Oh, yes. That feeling of you want to get up and just, you're like jumping, you're light on your feet. That's the feeling.
Yeah, okay.
That's like the I did it.
And that's a feeling in your body.
Oh yeah. Have you not seen me talk trash?
No. You, I get. I'm just trying to identify it
No,
for
but
myself,
that
right?
win, that
Yeah.
success, that
Yeah.
accomplishment, especially in Monopoly.
We have another game night coming up. Not for nothing.
We do have another. When's the game night?
A week from Friday.
A week from Friday. So if you're in New York City, we are doing our game night on Friday the 13th. Here in East Harlem at the Sanctuary of East Harlem. We'll put that information out on all social media platforms.
Our game nights are no joke. Our game nights are fun.
If you want to bring a game because you have doubles of the games, or you want to donate games, or you want to buy games on Amazon and send them in, let us know. We're always open for that. I actually want to get into, you know what'll bring me joy? And this is another one of the things. I want to play a board game that requires investment. And like, I don't know if it's like RPG shit or roll Dungeons and Dragons and stuff, because you need a good storyteller. I don't know. But I want to get involved in a group like that where there's a collective investment either on creativity or productivity, right? Or something that.
Yeah, no, I had that with World of Warcraft. Because World of Warcraft is online, but there were other people that like you would do things together. And when I tell people that I was an 80 level mage, they look at me like, oh my God. Like, and I felt badass about that. That was like the top place you could go in World of Warcraft. And I did it. And I like put a lot of time into it. And I did feel really good about it. It did make me feel like how you're talking about accomplishment and feeling like, you know, if I would engage in something and then we would get to the other side of it and win, I was like, that feels really good. So that I can relate to that like that.
Yeah. Well, beyond winning, how else do we experience joy? And we spoke about doing good things for others.
Mm-hmm.
Where else would joy come from? We discussed unexpected places.
Right.
Does anyone here have an example of an unexpected place to find joy? I like that Natalie's back there thinking heavy now.
Well, like the thing I said at the beginning, that, you know, when I found myself in the kitchen at like 12 or whatever, cooking 2 different things, baking 2 different things at one time, it was like I had invented doing it. I don't know how I thought about doing it, but it was unexpected that I ended up trying to do 2 things at once. And it was unexpected to me how much joy it brought me to do it, and then to do it well. I only remember one was zucchini bread. I don't remember what the other thing was, but I was like going from recipe to recipe, doing this thing on this recipe and then that, and then that. Well, that was sitting. Then I did the other thing, and I mean, maybe that's not a big skill set once you become an adult, but I was a teenager and I just found myself feeling really like excited about this project that I was doing.
There was also that one time that brought much joy with the fish.
I knew you were going. See, this is the part about like making somebody feel bad that gives him joy.
A little bit,
A little bit, just a
So,
little bit.
I think people know you don't microwave fish.
You make it sound like it's a rule, like everybody knew, and I didn't get the bullet in.
No, but like she is the best cook in the world that I know. I'm so gifted. Like, and I get joy telling this story because she knocks the ball. She's almost batting 1,000. Now she's batting like 9,998. 998. Right. So,
and I'll forever think about that 2%.
that 2%. It was the microwave fish
that I can't take back.
And it was the second meal that she did. But the joy of reliving that, because one, where we were in life, what was going on, your commitment to me, us, everything you were doing in the space, our relationship, and then that happened, and it was like, aha!
All right,
you aren't perfect.
To fill in the details, I had made some fried fish, and we had fried fish sandwiches, and there was extra fillet. It was already fried. So honestly, I put it in the microwave just to take the chill off the fish. That was my only point, because I didn't have very many options for cooking in that environment. And sure enough, I made the sandwich, and he took 2 bites, and he was like, "Did you put this fish in the microwave?" And I was like, yes. And then he didn't eat the sandwich.
Yeah, I couldn't. She tried to hide the crispiness of the fish with potato chips.
No, I did not.
No, you didn't. You didn't. I also find joy. I also find joy in storytelling.
Storytelling, lies, however you want to look.
Whoa! It's all perspective.
Embellishment.
All perspective.
Yeah.
All perspective.
Embellishment.
So let me see your questions here, because you got a good ton of questions. Wait. What adult showed you what it meant to find joy?
I told you the Uncle Steve story and the lollipop.
Huh.
And the magic.
Anyone here? Does anyone have an adult that showed them what it meant to find joy?
I also had, while everyone's thinking, my uncle, my dad's brother, who every time we would get together, he would quiz me on state capitals. Huh. I was young, right? And so it was those things you study in school. And so every time I was going to see Uncle Tommy, I would study up, because I wanted to be able to I wanted to get the right answers. I wanted him to be proud of me. I wanted to get the right answers. And so it was like a game we had of this, like, bet you don't know the capital of, and then he'd say whatever state. And if I could get it, it would be like, yes, I got it. So that was fun. That brought me joy.
When, as you were talking, interactions and deep conversations, or conversations that have us involved, where I feel like I'm contributing, but I also feel like I'm learning.
Mm-hmm.
Learning brings me joy when I want to learn about shit I want to learn about. Right? School did not bring me joy, but some of the information that I learned in school brought me joy.
Yeah. Right? Listening brings me joy. I'm one of those people that it took me a long time to quell my impulses to speak enough to put that aside, to be able to really listen. And so when I'm able to just get really still and listen to someone tell a story or to talk to me or whatever, that brings me joy. Listening. Wow. For someone who started out with like, don't talk to me about joy, I got a few things lined up.
So there was a game when I was growing up called Hot Peas and Butter.
What?
I don't know if anyone here knows what Hot Peas and Butter is. Mastilia, do you know that game? You have to know that game. No? Oh, my goodness. So it was where a person hides the belts, right, out in the playground, wherever we're at. And it was a hot and cold game, right? And the person who hid the belt is like, when you call them out from the base, It's hot peas and butter. Come get your supper. Then they come on, they start looking for the belt, and you're like, hot, 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 hot. Then when that person finds the belt,
we did a version of that. I don't remember what it was called, but when you say people, oh, hotter, oh, colder, like you're telling people how to get towards something or away from something by using hot and cold.
No, but we were using a belt, and then the person finds the belt, and you can hit everyone until they get back to base.
That looks like that TikTok video we saw.
No, listen, I love that game.
Like,
because I love the risk of it. I guess I find joy in doing risky shit and succeeding.
You're a risk taker. I will say because there's very few areas where I get joy from like that practical joke thing. You know, how you say like I'm not a big fan of that kind of thing. But when my sister and I have one sibling, when my sister and I would play Battleship, I don't know if anybody else played Battleship, but you know, you're supposed to set your this is a hotter and colder kind of game. You're supposed to set your ships in the water on your side, and then you call the numbers and the letters or whatever, and you place the pegs. So when my sister would get close to one of my ships, I would just move it. I would just pick it up and change it. So, and then she'd like call another one, and finally she'd say things like, "You're moving them. You have to be." And I'd be like, "Oh no, I'm not." She gets
We're gonna get your sister a copy of this. Have you ever told her?
She gets so mad.
Have you ever told her?
If I ever told her.
Where's your phone? You need to tell her. You need to tell her. Listen, the universe says clear that karmic debt. Tell your sister that you treated, and you know she's probably never played Battleship since then.
Neither.
And she probably said, I found joy in Battleship, even though I always lost.
Even
when you tell her that,
always beat me,
man,
she
listen,
was
man.
cheating, and she wouldn't tell me.
So, as we're winding down on time,
Yeah.
If you decided to make joy a priority, what changes would you make? What would you do just for fun? What allowances would you make in your budget? What is one thing you'd love to have if time and money allowed? And are there plans that bring you joy? Places that bring you joy? Anywhere in those.
Yeah, I like this question though because I don't think I'm alone in that. You know, the things that bring me joy, the things that bring me peace or relaxation or whatever. It's like, yeah, I'll get to that later. Yeah, but I got to do this now. And then it's like, yeah, but all the time away. And then there is no. So like to make it a priority, and I really love this wash your hands thing, right? Like even if it's as simple as I'm going to do like one thing a day that I don't have to do, that's something that makes me feel good. Just even shifting my priority just a little bit, even on a daily basis. On the other end of the spectrum, travel is a big thing for me. Like I want to travel. I want to go places. I want to go see things. That's something that brings me joy that has not been in the cards for me for a while. But because even when we do travel, we travel for work and we spend a lot of times in hotels and in classrooms and stuff.
Yeah.
But I like to go places where there's sun and beaches and blue water, and that brings me joy. So that's on my other end of the, like, if money and time were no object, I could do all of what we're doing here and then go take a vacation. That's my 2 cents. How about you?
My mind goes a few different ways, right? Because I immediately want to start steering towards the things that I want to do, with the belief, and I'm sure the knowing that that'll bring me joy when it comes to the work and the end of life doula stuff and all that stuff. But joy in the moment,
Right.
That's tough.
You would just play more Oculus.
For now, yeah, absolutely. I'd beat more 14-year-olds and talk shit to them.
Oh my God. I can hear when he's playing. And when I hear that the teenage voices come on, I'm like, oh my God.
Here they comes, right?
Here
No,
it comes.
I love it because I bring joy for ruining dreams. No.
Listen, what is it that you say? I'm here to
No, I'm here to kick ass and take names.
All out of paper.
And it's such trash. And then when I'm losing, I'm quiet as a mouse.
Until the end. Even if like you lose dramatically,
if I lose dramatically, yeah. If I lose dramatically, that's a wrap.
Yeah.
But that's actually, and I guess it's difficult now for me, right? If I were to make joy a priority, I think I spent a good chunk of my life making joy a priority. And it got me nowhere. I got a lot of enjoyable shit, enjoyable stuff, but
Yeah, I get
I
that.
missed, I felt without purpose. And that brought that brought more than not joy into my life. So,
Yeah.
like for me, I think it's joy is the fulfillment of purpose. If I decide to make joy a priority, I'd hire a marketing person to get our shit off the ground so I can really do what I love doing.
Yes. That.
So why don't we hire a fucking marketing person?
Okay. Okay.
If you or anyone watching this in the future, you is a marketing person,
Yeah.
talk to us.
I'm gonna call Bill.
Because it's
I
like
got a marketing guy.
that's what I would do. Like I
Let's do it.
really want to spend my time doing meaningful shit. And that's it. Like that brings me joy. What brings me joy is when someone says it in the middle of our conversation, oh my God, it makes sense. And they're
Yes.
like, thank you. That brings me joy because I know all the shit I've been through in life has come to a point where I'm able to pay it forward and make a difference for someone else.
Yeah.
Joy is a priority because I want those situations to be consistent in our life.
Yes.
I guess we need to be comfortable spending more money that we don't have to be joyous.
Right. Yes.
So how about you guys? How about you guys listening? If you decided to make joy a priority, what changes would you make today?
That's an interesting question. I think for me, joy would be a loss of everyday worries, kind of like you were talking about. I think that joy would be being able to share all the amazing, wonderful, crazy things that I want to do with someone. I think that it would mean having a tighter and bigger friend group, perhaps. Um, it would be me being able to be the most authentic me I can be.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for
Yeah.
sharing.
Yeah, I know it's really corny, but
No,
No,
listen,
it's
no,
great.
no, no,
And
no,
you
absolutely.
and you gave me a thought, like when you're done.
No, it's not corny at all. Listen,
No.
that that matters because
Yeah.
everything you're saying, I'm like, check, check, check,
Yeah.
check. Because without authenticity, you have no access to that joy because you're too busy wearing a mask, right?
Yeah.
That in and of
yes, but
itself,
don't we all?
we all do to some degree, but like I found joy in finding ways to lose the masks, right? And it's a constant process.
Yeah.
It's a constant process. Authenticity isn't unattainable. It's just a fucking hill to climb.
One of the things that I thought about as you were talking is getting to spend time with you that we don't have to do anything brings me joy. Being alone in the house, even just being quiet, knowing that we just have space brings me joy. And with the amount of work that we do and people that we have in our lives, like quiet alone time
It's hard.
is very rare.
It's hard.
And but when we get it, it brings me joy.
Yeah.
It really does.
We've actually been talking like that's
Yeah.
a very recent topic, as in 6 hours ago, right?
Yeah.
That's a joy that I miss.
Yeah. So when you say make a joy, we say make a joy priority, it's like we have to prioritize a little bit of time together, just alone, like doing not work
Yeah.
stuff.
We didn't get here just working, right? We
Although
got
a
here
lot,
also also spending time together and
Yeah.
having a living,
Yeah.
being joyful
Yeah.
for the things that we were going through, the things we were overcoming, right? And we're still doing and growing.
Yeah. The other piece that I got right here is that I am probably the most authentic version of myself that I've ever been. And I attribute it. I'm approaching another big milestone of a birthday. And when I did this the last time, 9.5 years ago, I experienced a level of I don't know if there's any kids in earshot, but I experienced a level of like not giving a fuck anymore about a bunch of stuff. And I can feel a new layer of that coming on of like having, as my friend likes to say, having no fucks to give. Like I am me, good, bad, and indifferent with all of my flaws and all of my challenges. I'm me. Here I am. I don't wear masks. I think people might think sometimes I should, but I'm like, I'm just me. And I, that's me being authentic. And I don't know that I've ever taken a moment to realize that I've like gotten to here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the what you shared about authenticity and the fight to get there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we've a topic for next week, but I would like to make it about authenticity and how to achieve it. And achieve it being a gradual thing,
Yeah.
right? It's like
Yeah.
I have a vial of sand and we're
Maybe
gonna
we'll do
build
that
on
one in
that.
2 weeks when you're back, so you can be part of that conversation.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
you're away
Okay.
next week. But yeah. But and if any of you have topics that you would like to discuss on these series of Tuesdays discussions, please let us know. Please email or leave it here in the chat or whatever, so that we can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about.
Yeah, these conversations are meant to reflect and to process and to develop on. So as Kat said, you can contact us at kingcollectivenyc@gmail.com.
ssdce.org at gmail.com.
ssdce.org@gmail.com. You can reach us through our website, ssdce.org, kingcollective.net. And this fly is going to drive me nuts. To drop in any topics that you would want to talk about, because they're all very important. These spaces to be able to reflect and share and listen is really meaningful. So we really thank you for joining us this evening.
It's been a great conversation. Thank you. Feels like a natural jumping off place here.
Yeah, yeah.
Does anybody have anything that they want to say or share before we head out?
Once again, thank you. Thank you for the invite. Thank you for sharing your time and your energy here and allowing us the opportunity to do the same.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It was exciting when I saw you drop in. I was
yes.
like,
yeah, no, it was funny because Ren was visiting us and he was like, Master Eli needs to write a book. He says things so eloquently. Listen, I have a publisher.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm working.
Excellent source of.
Yeah, I got the name, Master Eli's Cookbook on Life.
Bam.
With a pinch, and we'll put with a pinch of D and S. No, we'll do it. We'll do it. We'll do it. But again, thank you everyone for joining us this evening. This is going to be a consistent weekly discussion group, different topics every week, built around just understanding and getting into the meat and potatoes of life. I guess this whole meat and potatoes thing is getting new for me. Like I've been saying it now a little consistently.
Oh,
I'm hungry, I guess.
Then maybe that. Maybe you just want meat and potatoes.
Yes, yes.
Could be.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank
you. We look forward to seeing you guys in a week.
Yeah, see you next week.
Same time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard to 9 p.m. And touch base. Let us know what you think. We really appreciate you guys being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.